приступила к производству компьютеров «Персональный спутник».
Yeah, baby! Ferrari have a new car, the 849 Testarossa. It's a big name. Can the car live up to that big reputation? Well, I'm going to find out. I'm going to take it on the road, I'm going to thrash it on the track, and by the looks of things, I'm going to drive it in some really foul weather. Ferrari Testarossa. If you ever watched Miami Vice, then you know the car, you know the name. It's the car that Michael Mann famously chose for his heroes, Crockett and Tubbs, to drive around Miami, taking down bad guys to the soundtrack of Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight. But right now, it's exactly how I feel.
Absolutely essential for any type of serious police work.
Yeah, okay, I'm no Crockett, but I've got the new version. How much this has in common with the original? Technologically zero. That's not what it's about. This car, I think, still screams the style of the 80s and 90s. They've dipped into the Mad Hatter's hat of crazy ideas they've had over the decades and thrown all of them at the design cues on this machine. All of them are functional, so I'm not saying that these are bolt-ons. They're all aerodynamic, but they're pretty fruity. You look at these barge boards, dive planes and louvers positioned around this car, and it makes your head spin a little bit. I've looked at this on video and photo. I don't think it does it justice. I hope that you can see what this car looks like in the way I'm seeing it now, because it looks super hunkered down, very extravagant. The problem with the SF90, which this supersedes, is it didn't look crazy enough. This fixes that problem. This is really outlandish, bombastic. It's got 80s and 90s vibes screaming at you. I think that it's got, obviously, a bit of F80 about it, and I get told off for saying this, but I think it looks a bit like the SP3 Daytona, cars that cost a lot more money. This one's priced around $560,000. It's a lot of car for that money when you compare that to something like an F80. There's some fundamental differences, but this car nevertheless is extremely high technology packed into this amazing shape. And I think it's a really striking shape. Hints of Countach as well around it. And I say that when I look at these barge boards, which remind me slightly of the early Countach with the American rules. This, though, is aerodynamic. And if you follow this from tip to tail, you can see the design line of this. The air just flows straight across these hips, starting with this, splicing through the air, extending the profile of the car and the aerodynamics that they can draw into it. So this whole thing is, there's nothing on it that's not aerodynamic. It's more aerodynamic than the SF90, and the floor alone creates 35% of the downforce in this car. The faster this thing can cut through the air, the more speed you can put through the underside of the floor, the more it sucks it down into a vacuum to give you more grip and downforce. And it looks really sexy. The airflow, it's fascinating to follow it down the line of this car, through the hip, where it does a multitude of things. So air again gets diverted away from the rear wheel. This big scoop is here for a reason. This car's got a much bigger turbo than the SF90, and it's the most powerful V8 Ferrari has ever made at 830 horsepower, which is 50 more than the previous version of their 4-litre twin turbo. Air goes in there to cool the intercooler, but this bit, this detail here, this carbon fibre, isn't just for looks. So it splits the air so that this bit at the top cools these rear brakes. This car goes faster in a straight line because it's got less drag than the previous model and it's more powerful. So it needs better brakes. New pad in the front to give you more front braking, completely different rear brakes, they're a bigger system. Again, that needs more cooling. So overall, the car has more braking power to cope with the higher speeds. Then you get to the really interesting part at the rear, and it's sort of like a 3-stage diffuser. You kind of have to have Adrian Newey's eye for numbers to sort of see the airflow, but it's effective. The main difference between this car and the F80 is it doesn't have active suspension. So that's quite a big difference in how it's going to position itself in the corners, and also has less active aerodynamics. But the one feature it does have is pretty abrupt. This rear wing, which shoots up in less than a second, arcs forward. It's a really aggressive looking wing. It takes it from low drag to high drag very, very quickly. But most of the rear aero is coming off these two tail fins. They're quite cool. Ferrari has used die-cast metal to produce these because they found that, that pressed metal wasn't strong enough, basically. So they've really realised that there's a lot of force being generated here. And these features, I think, really hark back to the 512M, which is a really meaty-looking racing car from the 70s. And it just gives it quite an extraordinary look. What's in a name? Ferrari 849. The 8 stands for V8. 49 stands for 0.49 of a litre, which is the cubic capacity of each cylinder. If you add them together, you get just under 4 litres, which is this 4-litre twin turbocharged unit. Testarossa part, the red head, is the colour of the cam covers Ferrari traditionally give to the most powerful car in their range, which is now this one, at a combined of 1,050 horsepower. Aha! You're saying the F80 is more powerful. Ferrari don't class that as being in the range. It's sort of in its own league. Therefore, this is top of the line, basically, so it gets the red head treatment, and it looks amazing. If you dive into here, you see two things. You see the cam cover, and you see how low they've managed to install this engine. As low as possible, mid-engine, exactly where it should be. People buying this car are going to love it. Now, when you're buying your car or bike or van, you want to make sure you're not buying a duff car. With a dodgy history, the best thing to use for that is CarVertical, which gives you a full history report, checks for outstanding finance, checks to see if it's been stolen or damaged. All you have to do is put your VIN or reg number into CarVertical to get the full story. Now, we all love a Ferrari, but here's an example of one that hasn't been loved. It's been trashed. The photos don't lie in this, got to say. Going straight to that. It hasn't been stolen, that's the good news, and the mileage is correct, but it's hit something very solid in the front quarter panel that has trashed not just the carbon fibre, which looks like it's gone as far as the tub, it's also involved having the engine out, and looks like that's been smashed to bits as well. And if you click on the photos, you can also see the loom has had to come out. Electrical faults can stick around like gremlins. They come out to bother you in the middle of the night and spend your hard-earned cash. So make sure you buy safe, use CarVertical, click on the link in the description below, use my exclusive discount code BCD to get 20% off, and don't buy a dud. What it does also do is scream performance at you in a way that I think SF90 didn't quite do. This looks badass, and it kind of says to you, I bite, but it doesn't bite you. It's just extremely fast. It kind of bites you psychologically. You need to get your head around the fact that you will never really push this car at all in a road environment. Anyone that does is completely mad. The only way you're going to get close to the limit with this car is on the track. On the road, this car develops so much grip, and even though it has 1,050 horsepower, it's so supremely controlled that even in CT off, which I'm just playing with, the car will still support me if I get a bit of yaw, which ain't going to happen. This road is extremely grippy, and on these advanced tyres, I think I'm on the P0 at the moment, it's just locked in. It's not like driving a train. It's not on train tracks. I'm not saying that. I can feel some movement, and then potentially on a less grippy road, yeah, there might be a few things happening, but essentially, no. This car is locked in, and you can just really have at it. I know it's a bit naughty to compare this car to the F80, but I'm going to anyway. There was only 799 of those made, and it's about $3.7 million. The SP3, there was 599 made, and that was about $2.2 million. Don't know how many of these they're making, but it's going to be more produced. $560,000, and this has got more power than the SP3, and it's only about 150 horsepower less than the F80. That's my opinion, but the only way to be sure is to pass the Meerkat test by taking this car into a small town and seeing what the locals make of it. I think it's safe to say that it's past that. It's good for the neck muscles, this car, I've got to say. It's a little workout here. And the enhanced brakes, not that the car probably even needed it. I think that's just Ferrari just being clinically obsessive, thinking, yeah, we've added power, we should add more braking power too. It's nice to know that it's there. And it's nice to know that if you carry a bit too much speed, the ABS is going to help you turn. So historically, in some of the more basic systems, ABS, when that came in, you kind of lost a lot of front grip, and you might have a little panic trying to get into an apex or drift wide of a corner. And this system, it will help you bite and it will help turn the rear. It will hook you into the corner, lessening the likelihood of skidding wide if you leave your braking too late. We're around the 1500 kilogram mark in terms of total weight. I don't think Ferrari give you anything but the dry weight of the car. You never feel heavy, but then I haven't made a mistake yet. Weight tends to punish you a little bit if you make a mistake at a corner, but it feels very light on its feet. It's beautiful. Turning is super precise. I'll take it, basically. I'd have one. Mostly because of how it looks. It just looks amazing. Lamborghini will be looking nervously over their shoulder. I think that they've owned the outlandish, extravagant space for quite a while. Ferrari have just parked their tanks on Lambo's lawn. The nose features the delicate headlights that you can't use retractable headlights. Those pop-ups are gone, baby. They banned those. They banned everything from the 80s, really. In the 80s, pretty much anything went. You could do what you like. You could do wheelies on your BMX with no helmet. No one cared. You'd be left out all day to basically make up your own adventures, and we did. We drank water from a hose, and we didn't die. It was pretty cool. But yeah, pop-up headlights, no more. It's a new car and all that, so might as well just check that the launch works. It's a super well thought out car. Every year a little faster. So to really gauge the performance of the Testarossa, you need to go on track. Not in this edition of the car. We're going to use the Fiorano Assetto. Is it the Assetto Fiorano? The slightly racier version with a bit more downforce, the lowered seats, and the slightly stiffer suspension, slightly stiffer damping system. My first impressions are it's a bullet, but it's fun, it's malleable, and it talks to you. This car is fun! Damn, that straight is slippery. SF90 and the XX were pretty intimidating cars on track, and the F80, that was really a raucous machine, extremely complex technology, but this is sort of somewhere in between, because they've modified the power. They've got more power effectively going through the rear axle, with 830 through the rear axle and only 220 from the EVs powering each front wheel. So the ratio of power has moved to the back. And the two settings really that I'm interested in are CT off and ESC off, and to feel the difference, because Ferrari fitted this thing called pave, which is Ferrari Integrated Vehicle. I can never remember it. I cannot remember it. It's called the Examiner, the Extractor, I can't remember. Anyway, it's like R2-D2, and it basically assesses the conditions and lets you do stuff like that quite heroically. But it's very clever. It processes the amount of steering, the amount of speed you're carrying, the yaw angle, and from that, it decides how much slip angle to give you to let you go sideways. Now, this system's so clever that based on the speeds, it can tell whether you're on a wet track or a dry track, or in this case, half dry, half wet. And it's really clever. And that's a big upgrade on the SF90, but it's something that's come across from the F80. I love it. And in the really damp sections, the car's still quite twitchy, even with that on. So, I'm gonna keep it on for the first lap. Stick these brakes. Wow, okay, I braked too early, but that's me just getting used to the car. All right, that's ESC off now. So that's taking away the safety. Safety is off. Now, interestingly, the differential is processing the power differently. It's not just about traction control and ABS holding you. Ferrari let more torque go through the rear axle to allow you to stick it a little bit sideways and hold it. It's easier said than done on a greasy track, but it's a lot of fun. I find this car a little more playful than the SF90, and the XX was designed to be a little easier going so that you weren't competing with the front axle, because when you get it sideways, you want control over the throttle to control the rear axle, and so you don't want the fronts ruining that by trying to straighten you up. The XX was easier, and I think this is another grade in the right direction. This car's really good on throttle, dare I say it. Reminiscent of kind of my favourite car from the past, the 458. Another V8 power car, no turbo, no hybrid. All right, let's try these brakes. Here we go. All right, fully into the pedal. I love that. Now the SF90 I found a little tricky on the brakes because the pedal feel was reduced by the hybrid recovery system, because effectively that brake is channeling energy back into the electric system to recharge the battery at the expense of pedal feel. And what I like with this car is partly chassis actually. The car squirms a little bit under braking, and you can feel the effect of the brake pedal directly, dynamically through the chassis. Bullet-like gear changes! And I feel like I can measure my braking distances much better than before. So I do think they've improved the feedback. Could they do more? Yes, I think so. I'd still like to feel when the ABS is working with a little bit of feedback, a little flutter at the pedal. But this car, I mean, the counter to that is that it's one of the few machines that is faster at stopping on the ABS. Most cars, you lose some braking performance when you drop into the ABS. It reduces the braking effort. Ferrari's system is very advanced. Woo! I forgot what I was saying. Oh yeah, it's faster on the ABS than it is off it. So what do I need to do? I go down this straight till my eyes are bursting and I hit the brakes fully. All right, that feels good. It feels good. I can feel that nose digging in. Yeah, baby! I was kind of getting worried about hybrids because there's so many systems on them. You know, can you still have fun? Hopefully I've answered that question. Yeehaw! They're not the ideal tyres for this condition. They really, the damp bits. Cut 2 is an amazing tyre when it's hot, which it now definitely is red hot. But it's still quite skittish on the damp bits around Sevilla. This track is wicked though. Love it. Fast flowing corners, some beautiful S's, and just really enjoying feeling the weight transfer in this car. I haven't felt this much connection, honestly, since 458. Since Ferrari went turbocharged, I found it a little bit harder to connect, but I think that they've made a massive effort with this car. They've worked hard on that intuitive sensation that I really expect from a Ferrari. And it's a different animal to the F80. F80 is just so much grip from the active suspension and the active aerodynamics. And this one sort of almost takes it back to the past a little bit, where you can hang it out. The cool thing with the road car though is you can put it in the race mode and press the Manatino and it will give you bumpy road setting, which basically softens the dampers off. So with one click you can be in the fastest mode, but you can soften it off. Therefore you might take that out onto a wet track or something like that, or it might be a circuit that's got more bumps. Whatever it is, could be your preference, you can dial it out. Just thought I'd mention it. I definitely wasn't going to mention that sliding around in third gear on the damp track, but these things are important to know. That was awesome. That was really, really, really good fun, and more accessible than I thought it would be. I'm just really delighted for Ferrari, because I know that they have had a passion to kind of overcome some of the technology that was getting a little bit between the driver and the car. The fly-by-wire brake in particular. And I do feel like this car's cracked it. You can feel it squirming around with you, talking to you all the time. And the power delivery, again, very intuitive. So it's a massive step in the right direction. So yeah, hybrids are okay. All right, thanks for playing. Thank you, Ferrari. It's been amazing. I love this car. Big fan of the Testarossa. This being a thorough test, though, I'm just going to make sure it's got the fun factor. Love it! Official testing is complete.